Welcome to the Plant Trainers Podcast, where we're helping people improve their quality of life through nutrition and fitness. And now, your hosts, nutrition and wellness coaches, international speakers, Adam and Shoshana Chaim.
Hey, I'm Adam Chaim.
And I'm Shoshana Chaim, and we are Propelled by Plants.
Today we bring to you episode 265, The Impact of Diet on Epigenetics with Gina Bonanno-Lemos.
In today's episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast, we talked to Gina about the impact our diet has on epigenetics. After spending her entire life struggling with health issues, hormone issues that were leaving her sick, exhausted, and gaining weight, she discovered the power of a plant-based diet and healed herself from chronic conditions that were really controlling her. We cover so many good topics from genes and DNA to systemic issues, sleep distress, mindset, and of course, everybody's favorite, food. We all know someone who has accepted their poor quality of life as normal. This episode is really for them. Reach out to them, email them this episode, tag them on our Plant Trainers Facebook page, or show them the link on our Plant Trainers Instagram bio and help them by providing them with these resources.
Gina Bonanno-Lemos is the founder of 360 Health Connection, the award-winning author of What the Fork?, The Secret Cause of Disease, and the popular ebook 13 Steps to a Cancer-Free Kitchen. She's also the creator and host of the vegan training program and live health event, Your Plant-Based Guide Conference, the incredibly popular 2-day health conference and mini veg fest held in Costa Mesa, California. Gina is dual certified as an integrative nutrition health coach and a vegan nutrition specialist. Through her books, public speaking events, social media platforms, and her vegan training program, Gina educates on the benefits of a plant-based diet and the dangers of disease-causing principles of animal protein. She also uses these tools to raise awareness about animal cruelty and abuse and the environmental effects of factory farming. When she's not out changing the world, Gina loves spending time with her family in Southern California. We want to thank everyone for their support with the Yummy Foods activity book for kids that we recently published and is now available on Amazon and Kindle. We know it's being used in homeschooling programs as community outreach materials, as well as a way to keep kids busy, learning, and having fun without electronics. We wanted to share a few testimonials happy customers have left, and this one's from Jessica.
I love learning about new foods. Still being a fairly new vegan family, I would love for them to learn even more. I was pleasantly surprised when we received the workbooks and every one of my children, ages 1, 3, 8, 10, 12, and 16 took interest. Wow. Well done, Shoshana and Adam. This book is interesting, fun, informative, and I feel good about the fact that my kids are not only wanting to play with it, but they are learning at the same time. Win-win.
This one's from Timothy.
The recipe activities are great. No stress. It's a way to bond with your kids in the kitchen and teach basic kitchen skills. I recommend it for homeschooling, church-based programs, and presentations to elementary school kids. The worksheets can also be used as fun activities to test basic food literacy knowledge in adult-based presentations.
To get yourself or a young one a copy, visit the link in our show notes, which is planttrainers.com/yummyfoods, or search Yummy Foods on your country's Amazon site. And now for a moment of gratitude.
I'm grateful for being able to drive Adam's car this summer while he was away in Europe. It is the Green Machine. It's a green Honda Civic with the license plate that says Plant Power. And it's fun for the kids to see other people taking pictures of the car while we're driving or while it's staying still. And I'm grateful that people are doing that because if they put it out on social media, it means that other people are getting that touch point with a plant-based lifestyle, and it might help them improve their quality of life.
It is a fun car to drive.
It's, fun.
It's a lot of fun. Nice color. I'm grateful for the fact that our son, Russ, had an amazing summer in summer camp. We were able to provide him with that opportunity, and he was having such a great time that he wanted to stay even longer than he was originally scheduled to.
Gina Bonanno-Lemos, thank you so much for joining us on the Plant Trainers Podcast today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We'd love to know if you have a moment of gratitude to share with us and our listeners.
I do. I have such a huge moment of gratitude, really like a month's worth of gratitude for getting last month to work with so many of my heroes, so many people that I just have looked up to for so long and who are changing the world and saving lives. And I just am so grateful for all of them being in the world, willing to come, to my event and take time out of their busy schedules. So yeah, that's one that's just filled my heart for the past month.
Well, we're grateful for the work that you're doing and the way that you are connecting with people and helping them become more plant-based. And we're going to talk more about your event later on. And that's a beautiful moment of gratitude. We also wanted to add, even though we've already said our moment of gratitude, that we're so grateful for all the listeners right now who are listening, who are maybe being introduced to you for the first time. And we really hope and are grateful when people share out this podcast and subscribe, because that helps other people to be able to find it, other people to be able to move on their journey. And it's really gratifying for us when we get messages back saying people's lives are changing, and that's because of listeners sharing, listeners subscribing, but also guests like you who take the time to come on the show. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
So how did you find a plant-based lifestyle? How did this come to you? It's different for everybody, really.
Yeah. I came to it through a friend. She met me for coffee and slowly, over the course of our conversation, shared that she had gone plant-based. And to be honest, I thought she had lost her mind. And then she told me how she had cured her heart disease with it. And she's quite a bit older than I am. So at the time, she was in her, I believe, late 60s. And her boyfriend also, she shared with me, cured his diabetes, which was very severe. He was doing insulin shots every day, and cured his diabetes with a plant-based diet. So that really sparked the interest for me. That started the journey and the process, but it was a few months later, after much research and looking online and reading books. I mean, the science was very clear, but I always tell people, it doesn't just have to get to your head. I mean, getting into your head is great, but when it hits your heart is when it's really going to take hold. And that's what it took for me, was just the animal cruelty side of it, that I'm ashamed to say I, didn't realize. I had no idea. So that was just the impetus. That was the final straw for me. And I knew from that moment on, no matter what it took, this was going to be something that I was going to do.
I think a lot of people don't realize, even when they hear about it, even when they talk about it, there's a blinder put up. And we just talked about this on the show with Melanie Joy a couple of weeks ago, how people just are trained not to notice. We're trained to ignore it.
Right.
So don't blame yourself. Yeah.
I know. It's just, you have that guilt. And of course, I know I wasn't doing it purposely. It's just conditioning, and, they want us to be blinded to the facts and what's going on. But yeah, it's heartbreaking to know that I took part in that for so long as such a huge animal lover.
And did you have health issues that cleared up for you when you did go plant-based?
Yes, and that's why that initial conversation really sparked my interest, because I had been to so many doctors, naturopaths, holistic doctors, as well as traditional doctors for decades, and was dealing with just chronic issues, nothing life-threatening, but what I call life-altering, to where I just couldn't live my life the way I wanted. I mean, I couldn't even go to anyone's home if they had a pet, because I would get so sick, and it would result in a sinus infection that would last for weeks. And that's not an exaggeration. And so I would have these chronic sinus infections, 6 to 8 times a year was not abnormal for me. And it really just took me out of my life. I really couldn't get things done. I was constantly moving from one illness to the next, and asthma and just, skin issues. I had cystic acne, as an adult, which is very embarrassing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so within 3 months, no joke, within 3 months of adopting a plant-based diet, everything vanished. It was almost miraculous. And that's why I decided to follow this path and work, because I felt like, other people need to know about this.
Gina, it's amazing because your initial reaction is so common. It's the same reaction that so many people have. oh, going plant-based, that's crazy, or that's impossible, or it's
Extreme.
so difficult, it's extreme. And then we hear all these stories about people that are curing their chronic illnesses through the use of a plant-based lifestyle. It's really remarkable how that's happening. And it's interesting, we talk about this often on the show, how it takes people to that point where they have nothing else that they could turn to, and they're willing to give this a shot before, they have no other options. And
Right.
what do you say to people to try to get them to consider this even before they get to that point of tragedy happening to their health or somebody that they love? Is there something that you could say to those people or that you do say to them to try to get them to open their minds and open their hearts to this lifestyle?
Yes, I actually I speak at a lot of events now, and one of my favorite sayings, or it's a quote, favorite quote of all time, is intellectuals solve problems, but geniuses prevent them. And so I always implore the audience that I'm speaking to be a genius. Don't wait, because it's so much easier to prevent disease, prevent illness, than it is to reverse it. Once you're in the illness or in the disease, as I'm sure you know, you have to completely detox. Just to get back to center, just to get back to okay, not completely healthy, you've got to do so much more work. And it's so much easier just to prevent it from the beginning. Just, live that healthy lifestyle, eat the foods that are going to prevent disease and reverse the disease before it starts to manifest into symptoms.
I think that some people use their genes as an excuse from time to time. So they'll say, oh, well, I have bad genes anyway, or it's all right, I can do what I want. I have good genes. My grandmother lived till 113. Well, okay, let's say 103. She lived till 103, but she didn't necessarily live her life the same way that other people are living their lives now. So genes are something that you're really interested in. Why don't you explain to us a little bit can you actually explain to us a little bit the difference between genes and DNA so that people understand?
Yes. Of course, your genes are based on your DNA that's passed down from generation to generation. And one thing I always believe, like I think most people do, is that our DNA is just hardwired and you can't change it, and you can, make modifications, but, if you have disease genes, if you have heart disease or cancer, let's say, passed down from generation to generation, there's not a whole lot you can do to mitigate that risk. And over the years, I've become very interested and fallen in love with the study of epigenetics, which is basically the study, to kind of boil it down to a simple, ideas, the study of how lifestyle factors and different choices and things we're exposed to are actually able to change the way our DNA expresses itself. So very much, and how I usually explain it to people is like, we all have lights in our home, but whether or not they're on or off is a matter of flipping that switch. And so we literally can flip those switches in our genes and tell that DNA, tell those different markers to either turn on or turn off. So when we choose things like exposing ourselves to toxins, smoking, EMF waves off of our phone constantly, sleeping with it in our room, our food choices, exercise, sleep, all of these things, stress, they all play a role, and they will absolutely determine whether or not those disease genes are turned on or shut down. So it's just fascinating, and it's very new. So there's not a lot. This is the next book that I want to write, but there's so little out there still because it's in its infancy.
So we talk about that a lot on the podcast, about how your genes are not necessarily decided beforehand, that you can alter them with your lifestyle. We've never used the term epigenetics on the podcast before that I could remember, but we do talk about it all the time. And from time to time, I've even gone as far to say, yes, it's a light switch that you could turn on and off. And for some people, it's also a dimmer switch. where,
Correct.
dementia might still be in your future, but you can push it away a little bit further, or you can keep it so that it's manageable for a lot longer. So there is room to play with it in there too. And I think that that really opens people's eyes into how they can take control of their own life in more ways than they are already.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why it's one of my favorite topics, because people feel so hopeless, I've found, so often, and they just kind of resign themselves to the fact that all of their family had this certain disease, and so it's inevitable. And that just breaks my heart, because I see so many people who just give up, and they don't even try. And I don't, that's so foreign to me. I'm pretty much a fighter. So it's like, I may be down for a few minutes, but I gather myself up, and then it's like I'm back in the fight, and I go into warrior mode. And my dog was just diagnosed with cancer a few weeks ago, unfortunately. And so I had my couple hours of tears and upset and worry. And then I thought, okay, that's it. I got to get back in the game. I got to figure this out, and I've got to fix her. So I rolled up my sleeves and just started researching everything I could, because I know they're all systemic issues. Everyone thinks heart disease is separate from cancer, is separate from diabetes, and it's separate from arthritis or autoimmune disorders. And what I really want people to understand is that it's all the same thing. It all stems from the same basic issues. And if you can just get rid of the inflammation and, fix your microbiome and all the basics, there's just so few key factors that play a role in every single disease.
The same foods that are going to work, and the same meditation techniques and the same lifestyle techniques that are going to work for cancer, for heart disease, to help you with autoimmune diseases, with inflammation in the body. It's all the same thing. There might be some slight different things that you need to put in there back and forth, but overall, what's heart healthy is cancer healthy, and autoimmune disease healthy. It all comes back to the same thing, which is the same foods that we keep repeating over and over again on the podcast, Real Plant Food.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all related. It all stems from the same thing. And that's why other diets just don't work, because, they focus on one issue. They'll focus on typically weight loss. And yeah, you may lose weight on a keto diet or, one of these other fad diets, but nothing will completely change the person as a whole. And you just don't see all of these illnesses and maladies, melting away like you do with a plant-based diet.
I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people will say, well, my sister or my cousin did the keto diet and their diabetes got better, or they found it more manageable. They had less pain and less inflammation. It was more manageable. But that still doesn't that still doesn't compare to what a plant-based diet is doing for people, where it's actually reversing it, where I saw you had Dr. Goldner at your event last month. So do you know how Dr. Goldner's lupus is no longer detectable at all? If she goes to a new doctor, they'd have no idea that she had lupus in the past, which is unheard of from a medical standpoint. So
correct.
So just because it's gotten better because of the weight loss, or because they're diabetic and they're not taking in any carbohydrates, so it's not creating sugar in the body, that doesn't mean that they're at their utmost best. It doesn't mean that their quality of life is going to be better long term. And it doesn't mean that they're ever going to be in remission completely. Right.
Absolutely. And when you understand the science behind it, when you look at the literature, I literally read through thousands of studies to write my book. I read every single one. It was, a daunting task. But when you look at these studies and you look at the science behind it, it is undeniable, because, like you were saying, you may have a little bit of relief from some pain or maybe some weight loss, but what's happening to your microbiome, what's happening inside of your gut and throughout your body with the inflammation and the different substances that are being created, from pumped out from your liver when you eat animal foods, the TMAO and the YBB, and you're taking in new 5GC, which is a sugar molecule that our bodies are literally having an autoimmune reaction to every time we eat animal foods, any type of animal food. So when you understand all of that, you understand that no matter what you see on the surface, there's so much going on inside the body that long term is a recipe for disaster.
So people listening that are already plant-based, are there certain plant-based foods that are more important for them to be consuming on a regular basis than others?
I always tell people to just get a good mix, but definitely, they need to have such an emphasis on vegetables. Whole grains are important, but you're going to get, so many of the phytonutrients and the chlorophyll and so many things out of vegetables that you just can't get elsewhere. Plus the fiber. I mean, in general, a plant-based diet, overall is so great. And for people who are looking to really up their protein, I always recommend hemp. Quinoa is incredible, especially for children, because it has that 9th essential amino acid that they need that adults don't. And I always tell people, don't be afraid of soy. That's something that I teach is, that soy is not the enemy. It's not, is not what the dairy industry has scared people into thinking it is. But yeah, vegetables are really the way to go, and trying to get in onions and garlic on a almost daily basis if possible. Those are the absolute top 2 cancer preventative foods that you can eat. Garlic, as I'm sure you guys know, have had thousands of studies done, and it is more potent than any chemo known to man.
And I think that it's really important for people to take the time, even if they are experts, like you said, like Adam asked, for somebody who already is plant-based, getting a good variety. Some people don't understand what varieties are out there, right? So yes, you want to have the emphasis on the vegetables, you want to have grains, you want to have fruits, but there's also all the fermented foods that are really important to be getting into your gut every now and then as well. We're taking a short break to let you know that this episode of the Plant Trainers Podcast is brought to you by Energy Bits.
If you want a healthy, natural way to fuel your workouts or fire up your brain, Energy Bits are for you. Energy Bits are tiny spirulina algae tabs that are nutritionally dense, a source of mental and physical energy that is all natural and causes no stomach distress. They eliminate fatigue and hunger instantly with no caffeine, sugar, chemicals, gluten, or soy, just pure plant-based nutrition. 1 ingredient, 1 calorie, and 0 net carbs. I use them before workouts or sometimes just as a snack. They make me feel great and give me that extra energy boost I'm sometimes looking for. I also use Recovery Bits, which are tiny chlorella tabs. I use them after workouts or when I'm feeling hungry late at night. Visit energybits.com and order Energy Bits, Recovery Bits, Vitality Bits, or Skinny Bits, and use the promo code PLANTTRAINERS to get 20% off your order at checkout. The link will also be in the show notes just in case you didn't get that all down. Improve your energy, wellness, and waistline all at the same time with Energy Bits. Check out Energy Bits today and feel the difference. Your brain and body will say thank you.
And now back to the show.
Correct. Yeah. Prebiotics, probiotics, and and a lot of plant foods will act as a prebiotic too, like flax seeds act as a prebiotic. But yeah, it's so important. And the fiber in general will change your microbiome in so many great ways. And I'm actually working on kind of it started off as just a simple blog post, but it's kind of morphed into this giant thing, giant project. I'm trying to put together like the most comprehensive blog post that covers where plant-based eaters get their protein. So, I know a lot of places they'll have posts on it and they give some ideas, but I'm trying to put together like the most comprehensive one ever. So to answer that question, yeah, because we all get that question, of course, where do you get your protein? So I want to just be able to point people to that thing, go, there you go. Here's 100 different places.
You get it here, and I don't need to say it ever again. I just need to remember the bit.ly.
Exactly.
So Gina, does it matter if we know which genes we're turning on and off, or it doesn't matter at all?
No, I mean, it is going to work differently for everyone because we're exposed to so many other different things that can mitigate the positive benefits. So, of course, food is the number one most important thing. But if you are someone who's, let's say, a shift worker and you're working nights and you're only sleeping during the day, you're missing out on 4 really crucial hours, which is from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., where our bodies go into, this whole cycle with different hormones, and it actually cleans up oxidative stress and all kinds of different things. So, little things like that, if you're someone who's eating really healthy, but you're missing all the rest of it, you're not going to have the same benefit, or your genes may not work the same way and react the same positive way to a plant-based diet. It will help. I'm not saying, you should just throw the baby out with the bathwater. But, really people have to look at a well-rounded life, just hitting all the different aspects to create a healthy body.
What other lifestyle habits are there to really help control your genes?
Definitely controlling stress. We all have stress in our lives. It's a matter of how we react to it. It's a matter of whether we allow it to control us. I will admit that I used to be the type of person who carried it on me constantly. And I think that too played a role in my poor health. So, learning ways to de-stress, whether it's meditation, whether it's, if you have to use something to help with that, CBD oil is awesome in that regard, being able to just let go of some of that anxiety, and for anybody who doesn't know, that's not the chemical component, in marijuana that's going to get you high. It's just going to help with stress and some other things, pain. But, just being able to say, it is what it is. Everything that's happening is happening for me, not to me. And it's happening for my growth. And, being able to frame things in that way and truly believing it, not just saying it, but believing it helps to, I think, relieve some stress.
So mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. Just being not rah, be positive, just understand that everything is happening as it's supposed to and in its own time, even when it's not the most pleasant. We're like those pieces of coal with the pressure being exerted on us, and to become that diamond, we have to have that in our lives, unfortunately. Sleep, as I mentioned, you can sleep 10 hours a day. If you're sleeping at the wrong time of day, you're not going to get those benefits. You're placing yourself at greater risk for every major disease. So 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. are the 4 most crucial hours. Minimizing our exposure to toxins. I've got, for anybody, listening to the podcast, I've got a really great eBook that I wrote on my blog, and everybody can download it for free. It's 13 Steps to a Cancer-Free Kitchen. And that in specific talks about ways to get toxins out of your kitchen, out of your life. So, minimizing that any way you can, whether it's using a grounding pad, for the EMF waves, getting in a sauna to get, the far infrared saunas to get rid of the toxins that way, different foot baths, all different ways, any way you can, juice cleanse, a fast, whatever you can to just purge everything out of your system and kind of hit that reset button. Yeah, those are the major things. And of course, moving, of course, exercise. I hate to even use the word because a lot of people think of it as a 4-letter word. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, it doesn't have to be an intentional, like, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. It can just be walking the dog or, just walking yourself. Working out in the garden, just moving more, just getting your body moving, and that will also help to flush the toxins and get our cells the oxygen that they need.
And it's all related, because then you might feel less stressed after, because you've moved your body, you're stimulating certain hormones, you're releasing your stress depending how much you're walking, and you could work on your mindset while you're doing that, and then you come home and you're hungry and you could feed yourself these amazing plant-based foods. It's all cyclical.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, and I tell people, don't go into it with the mindset of, I'm going to do everything at once, because that's just a recipe for failure. At least that's what I've seen is people will say, okay, it's the first of the year. I'm going to work out an hour a day. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they try to make this grand plan, which is awesome, but it's so daunting that so many people fail. So I tell people, just implement one new thing every single month. Just focus on that one thing, either eliminating something or adding something. And at the end of the year, you now have 12 new things, 12 new awesome lifestyle changes that you've made. And you've mastered each one, and then it won't seem so overwhelming. And your whole life will be different. And as Dr. Phil always says, the next year is going to go by whether you change something or not. So why not at least put those days and weeks and months to use?
And who do you want to be at the end of that year? If you want to be the exact same person, you've got to make a change. If you're willing to, have your health deteriorate a little bit, then you could continue what you're doing. Or if you want to be just a little bit better or a lot better, then you have to be making those changes every single month.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's another thing I always tell people is everything you do, and especially every bite you take, you are either promoting or you're preventing disease. So you need to ask yourself that every single day, is what I'm doing preventing or promoting disease?
Oh, I asked myself when I saw those birthday cupcakes on the shelf today. I opened the cover and I said, okay, the kids' cupcakes from the celebration last night. And I said, yeah, that's not going to help me feel better for my workout tomorrow at all.
Right. Yeah. And I always, people ask, well, don't you ever treat yourself? And of course I do. It's just a matter of, do you treat yourself more than you take care of yourself?
I treated myself yesterday. Today I'm treating myself with healthy foods. You need to look at healthy foods as a treat for yourself as well.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And they can be. That's the awesome thing, is people don't even realize that plant-based foods can be so delicious.
And all this is pretty overwhelming, but I love the way you just put it, that if people take one aspect of it and go into it slowly, that's what's really going to help them make a long-lasting difference and improve their quality of life, which is something that we like talking about.
Yeah, it's just don't get bogged down, don't try to do too much at one time, because then you won't do anything. You feel overwhelmed and it feels too different and you feel out of place, and then people give up. And that's why I think it's something like 80% of people give up on their New Year's resolutions by the second week or something.
And then if you fail, you're less likely to give it another go, because nobody likes to fail. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there's been all kinds of studies, too, on, when we break promises to people, they don't believe us anymore. And it's the same thing when we break those promises to ourselves. When we say, I'm going to do this, this is my year, this is the time, blah, blah, blah. And then you break those promises, you don't trust yourself anymore. And then after a while, you don't even try. So it's sad.
It is sad. But on a happy note, you did have your conference, your Plant-Based Guide conference last month. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that is, and can you tell us one of your favorite parts from it?
Yeah, absolutely. It originally came to be, I had started an online training program, webinar-based training program to help people go plant-based. And then I realized people were still wanting that interaction in person and one-on-one, just to get to know you and see you. And so it kind of morphed into this 2-day training program. And so my goal was to not just give people the why they should go plant-based, because, that happens at all the Plant Fest, the Veg Fest events. People go and they hear these great presentations, very motivating, and they understand why they should go plant-based. But the disconnect I was hearing from people was that they still didn't know how. So my goal with the event was to bring in incredible speakers to not just tell them why, but to actually teach them how. And then they also went home with my entire training program. So they went home, everybody who attended got emailed all of the training guides that I have, how to substitute eggs in all of your different dishes, 4 weeks of plant-based recipes for breakfast and dinner, the shopping list that were already done for them. So literally all they have to do is hit print and take it to the store. Just different trainings to teach them how to order in restaurants, all the stuff that I wish I had had when I first made the transition, because I really had no idea what I was doing. So
how long ago was that?
I believe it's been 6 years now.
Yeah.
I think I just passed 6 years.
So because of programs like yours, because of programs like ours, there's so much more information to help people along to make it more successful for everybody now. So that's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds beautiful. It's wonderful. And I'm assuming it's down in Southern California.
Yes, we held it in Costa Mesa, which is in Orange County, California. And I've had other people asking if we can bring it to their areas. It's just, it's a little challenging my original intention was to take it on the road, kind of like a circus, but a good circus, no animal abuse.
Right.
But yeah, I'm finding that it's logistically a little tough. So yeah, we're probably going to keep it here. Definitely for 2019, it will be here in Southern California. But we did have people. I had someone that flew in. I think they were from China. I had someone from Canada that came in, and the feedback was incredible. People were so excited.
Very excited.
And my favorite was we got to do a big giveaway, and I kind of did it Oprah style. So it was, I surprised everyone. I showed them all these great plant-based products, that I recommend, and things that different companies had donated to us. And then we surprised them with a goodie bag full of all of the stuff that I had shown them. So that was one of my favorites. I love giving gifts.
Beautiful. I wish I was there. I like getting gifts and giving gifts.
Yeah.
we give lots of gifts on our Facebook Lives that we do. And that's awesome. Always fun to, either stick things in the mail or email ebooks and things like that. That's lots of fun.
Oh, that's neat.
So if you had one actionable tip, one big message for people today to start taking hold of their genes and start making changes, what would that be?
Ultimately, I would love for them to go in their kitchen and throw out everything animal-based. But, like I was saying, I think just take one step. Just, chunk it down into bite-sized pieces that you can live with, Don't just try to do it all in one day or 1 week or even 1 month. Just chunk it down, write down your goal, what you hope to achieve by the end of the year, and then make an action plan and just put down one bullet point for each month, one thing that you're going to tackle and master every single month, whether it be stop smoking, exercising more, getting more sleep, or getting to bed at the right time so you get those crucial hours in. All of those things. And like I said, it just by the end of the year, you'll be even before the end of the year. I really believe this. I think everyone within a few months of just taking one action step each month can turn their life around within a few months.
Yeah, it's amazing how one small step could really make such a big difference. And people just need to remember to take that first step.
Right.
And that works for people who are listening to the podcast to start their journey into plant-based nutrition, but also for the hardcore plant-basters and vegans out there who are already eating well. There's so much more that they can do, and they could make steps as well.
Oh, yeah. We heard that too from attendees at my conference, is that because we had a mix. We had about half of the people who were already plant-based and half that had never even considered it, and they wanted to learn more. And even the people who had been plant-based for a long time commented and sent me incredible emails and gave me such great feedback saying, they learned so much. They were so glad they attended. They've learned how to be a better vegan, how to be healthier, how to, they had so many action steps that the doctors gave them to go home with.
If people wanted to reach out and learn more about you and what you do, where do you want them to go?
Sure. They would go to my blog. So it's 360healthconnection.com, and it's the numerals 360healthconnection.com. They can find me on Facebook at 360 Health Connection. On Instagram, I'm just under my name, Gina Bonanno-Lemos. And those are the main areas you're going to see me lurking around.
So Gina, we're going to put all those links into our show notes, and we'll include the link for your ebook as well. And I'm sure they could find information about your upcoming conference there too. So thank you so much, Gina, for sharing all this amazing information with us. I always love learning more, especially about things I don't know as much about, and learning about how we could change our genes and that they are actually able to be changed is always fascinating. So thank you so much for sharing with us on the Plant Trainers Podcast.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for all you do too.
Thanks for your time. And we threw this together, this interview, getting you on the show really fast. So thank you for being very flexible with that.
Oh, no problem. My pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to this edition of the Plant Trainers Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or any other podcast listening platforms. We appreciate the feedback we receive from you. Every time we get a 5-star rating or review on iTunes from one of our fans, it ensures other people will find us too. Thanks to our patrons. To become a patron, visit www.patreon.com/planttrainers. Even supporting us with $1 really makes a difference. Connect and follow us on Instagram and Twitter @PlantTrainers. Like Plant Trainers on Facebook, join our newsletter, and check out our website at www.planttrainers.com for awesome plant-based recipes and a list of our services. Email your questions to info@planttrainers.com so we can answer them on our upcoming Facebook Lives. We hope we've inspired you today. Join us again next time, and have a healthy day.